Hello everyone, I am Yatnesh Dubey and this is the Digit Ultimate Gaming Test. Today we are testing not 5, not 7 but over 10 games at both 1080p and 1440p resolutions. All games will run on high settings because that's probably what most users out there use. Also, since this laptop has a 16:10 ratio, so we'll be testing the games at 1200p and 1600p resolution. Now this is the start of a brand new series where we will be testing and ranking laptops over time. Today we are kicking things off with the Lenovo Legion Slim. We have an RTX 4060 with 8GB GDDR6 VRAM running at 140W TGP and a Ryzen 7 8845HS. And since this is going to be an ongoing series, we will be focusing on a wide variety of gaming laptops. Now the RTX 4060 is a pretty special GPU because it is currently the most popular GPU on Steam. So chances are that there are many of you out there who are still using the RTX 4060 in your build or in your laptop. In this test, we will take a look at the average frame rate, GPU and CPU performance, VRAM and RAM usage and more. So let's get into it, starting with our first game. So we are starting off with Valorant. Now first we are going to play the game at 1600p and then we are going to be playing the game at 1200p. We are going to be keeping the settings at high and we are going to keep the VSync off for obvious reasons. And here's how the Valorant runs. As you can see, the game is running pretty smoothly and the 1600p display is really looking very crisp. And in terms of FPS, we are getting close to 275 FPS on average. In terms of CPU temperatures, we are fairly hovering around 70 degrees, which is decently cool. And in terms of GPU power consumption, we are at around 55 watts. Since Valorant isn't a particularly demanding game, you can see that the laptop is running without any strain. Next up is Valorant gameplay at 1200p resolution, and what's really interesting over here is that changing the resolution almost did nothing to change the average frame rate. We are still getting around 270 to 280 fps as before, so it is safe to say that Valorant is running pretty smoothly and without any hiccups. The second game on the list is Dirt 5 and we are running it at 1600p native resolution and high graphics settings. We are also keeping the dynamic resolution and VSync off. And here's how the game performs. As you can see, we are getting around 90 to 100 FPS on average, and the best thing is that the CPU temperatures are still in the 68 degree range. Meanwhile, the GPU power usage has gone above 100 watts, clearly indicating that this is a much more demanding game. And in the end, we received around 92 FPS on average at 1600p resolution. Next up, we are running the Dirt 5 at 1200p resolution, and even at this setting, we are keeping the graphics preset at high. So let's see how it performs. Now going from 1600p to 1200p, we saw a significant increase in FPS from 90 to all the way to around 110 and 120 FPS. The CPU temperature and the GPU power consumption were around the same, and in the end, the Legion Slim 5 scored 123 FPS. The third game on the list, we have Civilization 6, and at first we are going to be testing it at 1600p resolution while keeping the performance and memory impact at high and turning the VSync off. And here's how it performs. Now this is a CPU dependent title, so the 8-core Ryzen CPU is really a good match for this game. As you can see, we are getting around 120 to 130 FPS, which is very smooth. And in the end, Civilization 6 scored around 124 FPS at 1600p. Next up, we ran the game at 1200p and here's how it performed. As you can see, the game is running very smoothly, very easily scoring around 140 FPS, which is very good. Meanwhile, you can see that this whole while the CPU temperatures are reaching close to 80 degrees as the game is putting the Ryzen CPU to work. And in the end, at 1200p, Civilization 6 scored 141 FPS. The fourth game on the list is Metro Exodus. It is a challenging game to run, no doubt. And at first, we are running it at 1600p resolution at high settings and keeping the DLSS at off. And here's how it performs. As you can see, we are getting different FPS in different areas, but it is clear that on average, we are getting around 70 FPS, which seems pretty playable. Moreover, the CPU temperatures will spike up in challenging areas and the GPU power consumption is around 100 or so watts. In the end, Metro Exodus at 1600p scored around 69 FPS. Next up at 1200p, we can see that the game is running noticeably more smoothly, as on average we are getting close to 90 FPS. Moreover, the CPU and GPU condition in both these cases almost seem similar. Overall, the game is running a lot more smoothly than before. And in the end, Metro Exodus scored 92 FPS at 1200p resolution, which is a huge difference. Next up, we are testing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and we are keeping the graphics preset at high, as you can see. Then we are keeping the resolution at 1600p. So with these settings done, let's see how the game performs. As you can see, we are running the game at around 90 FPS on average, and we are getting fairly good picture quality as well. Over the years, AC Valhalla has received several updates. As a result, it has become fairly stable to run, and now almost every gaming laptop out there can run it without any issues. And in the end, at 1600p, AC Valhalla scored around 104 FPS, which is very good. Next up, testing the game at 1200p, and we can see that it is obviously running more smoothly than before. And right now, the average FPS seems to be around 120 FPS, which is really taking the advantage of the 165Hz display of the laptop. And in the end, at 1200p, AC Valhalla scored around 133 FPS. Next up is Gears 5, and as you can see, we are keeping the resolution at 1600p and the graphics preset at high. And here's how the game performs. At first, we are getting around 80 to 90 FPS, which is pretty good. But what you have to remember here is that this is a pretty chaotic game with a lot of stuff happening on screen all at once, as you can see. And the game really stresses the CPU as well as the GPU. And in the end, at 1600p, the Gears 5 scored around 90 FPS. Next up, at 1200p, the Gears 5 is now averaging around 100 FPS, which is better than before, but not too big of a difference. I mean, 10 FPS is a difference, then I might as well just play at 1600p instead of 1200p. And overall, the game is running pretty smoothly, but we'll have to see the final result to see for ourselves. And the laptop scored around 96 FPS, which isn't that much as compared to before. Up next is the Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, a game that was released last year and it is still pretty demanding. Right now we are running it at native resolution while keeping the scaling at DLSS, as there is no option to turn that off. Also, we are keeping the graphics preset at high as well, and here's how the game performs. You can see on average that we are getting around 45 to 50 FPS. The frame rate is a bit choppy, but I really do think that right now the RTX 4060 is struggling to run the game. The game is also consuming 14 GB RAM and around 6.9 GB of VRAM, so needless to say, the game is memory hungry. Overall, it is running decently but not too well. Next up, let's see whether testing it at 1200p changes anything or not. So yeah, right now I think we are getting somewhat better FPS than before, but not much, as the FPS is still dropping every time a lot starts happening on the screen, as you can see. Overall, I think we are getting around 55 FPS average this time around, which isn't too good, but yeah, technically better than before. Next up is everybody's favorite GTA 5 Enhanced Edition, and in this one, since there's not any global graphics preset or such, we are keeping everything at very high and ultra and at 1600p resolution. So here's how the game performs. So right now during the gameplay, I think we are getting close to 60 FPS, like almost 60 FPS, but it is dropping down to 55 FPS occasionally. Now the best thing here is that there are not much frame drops, which is nice, and everything in the new enhanced version looks graphically much better than the OG GTA 5. Next up, let's see what difference does running the game at 1200p results in. So here at 1200p, I think we are getting around 10 FPS or more, like the average FPS is around 70 FPS, and I don't think the difference is huge in terms of frames per second. So I don't know about you, but I would personally choose to play the game at 1600p only. Up next is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and as you can see, we are keeping the graphics setting at high and we are keeping the resolution at 1600p. Also, we are not turning on the DLSS. So how does the game perform? Let's see. So right off the bat, I can see that we are getting around 90 FPS, which is pretty smooth. The CPU temperatures at this time around are 73 degrees, and let me tell you that we have been running these games back to back without giving the laptop any rest, and even before starting the test, we ran the games for 30 minutes to stimulate that real world gaming conditions on this device. And in the end, you can see that we received around 98 FPS in Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 1600p resolution. Now let's see how much do we gain by turning the resolution low at 1200p. So let's go. Alright, right off the bat you can see that there is a huge difference in FPS. Right now we are averaging around 140 FPS, which is a lot more than 90 FPS which we received earlier. The CPU and the GPU are around at the same level as before, so there is not much change there, but overall the game is running fairly smoothly. And in the end, Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 1200p scored 132 FPS, which is a huge difference. Up next is the infamous Cyberpunk 2077, and I am excited to see how it runs at 1600p resolution and can the RTX 4060 handle it or not. Also, we are keeping the graphics at high and keeping the DLSS as default for this game because that's how most gamers will play this title. And in terms of performance, you can see that the game is delivering absolutely stunning graphics right now. Just like Metro Exodus before, we are averaging different FPS in different areas. So your experience of playing this game will vary upon what's exactly happening on the screen. And I think the lowest we have gone right now is 55 FPS, which is decent. But let's wait and see what the final result is. So we got a solid 61 FPS, which at 1600p for this game is pretty impressive. Okay, so let's see how the Cyberpunk 2077 will perform when we lower the resolution to 1200p. And as you can see, we are getting 15 or so FPS more than before, which does seem like a legit jump than before. Also, everything, at least on this 16-inch screen, looks just as good as before in terms of sharpness. So 1200p is absolutely playable if you choose to. And in the end, we got around 82 FPS, which is a big enough jump. Up next, and the last game on this list, is the Borderlands 3. Now, just like before, we are first testing the resolution at 1600p and then we are keeping the graphics at high. So let's see how this game performs. So I think that the high resolution is really pushing the GPU to its limit in this game, as we are getting around 70 FPS. Now, I frankly expected more from this game, as it is quite old at this point and should have been a bit more optimized, but I don't think it is so. The picture quality and everything looks nice, and I just wanna see what the result is in the end. So the game achieved around 74 FPS on average at 1600p, which I think could be better. Next up, let's see what kind of performance gain we get once we lower the resolution to 1200p. So let's go. So I think we are seeing a much more smoother gameplay this time around, as the average FPS also seems to be more around the 100 FPS range. So I think we are seeing a much more smoother gameplay this time around, as the average FPS also seems to be more around the 100 FPS range, which is pretty nice. Although lowering the resolution is making the game feel more jagged in terms of sharpness, but I guess you have to sacrifice graphics if you want performance, especially on a budget. And the final result is 104 FPS. Wow, I think this is a much more better than last time and really impressive. So what do you think about the Lenovo Legion 5 Slim's gaming performance, and which laptop do you want us to test next? Let us know it all in the comment section below. My name is Yatnesh Dubey and I will see you guys next time.